James Harden has demanded his way out to numerous teams. He didn't want to play for OKC. He didn't want to be a six-man. He goes to Houston. He becomes a superstar. He becomes Mr. Party Animal. He becomes Mr. Kardashian. As soon as they bring in Chris Paul gets hurt in the Western Conference Finals and everything fell apart, and they decided to part ways with Chris Paul. Everything started to fall apart. They bring Russell Westbrook there, thinking that they're bringing one of his buddies there. It absolutely was a catastrophe, and then he wanted out. So what did he do? He forced his way out to the Brooklyn Nets. He goes to that clown show of an organization with his two buddies over there, Kyrie, a.k.a. Idiot Irving, and then Kevin, a.k.a. 7 Twitter feeds Durant, who calls himself the social media king. All of those guys were clowns over there. How long did it take James Harden to want out over there? What was it, 2 years? Then he forces his way to the 76ers. He goes over there. He ruins Doc Rivers, even though Doc Rivers was already ruined. He ruins that team and the fortitude of that team. Joel Embiid, even though he wins an MVP, was really behind the 8 ball bringing in a guy like James Harden, who's a ball hog, has ruined that team and ruined that organization. And now, ladies and gentlemen, he doesn't want to be there anymore. So where does he want to go? He either wants to go to the Rockets or he wants to go to the Clippers. Now, there are stories coming out that the Rockets would be his first pick, but the Rockets have said they're more than likely not interested in James Harden because they're a young roster and they bring in a coach that probably doesn't want to deal with his antics. So it's only the Clippers. That's who it is. And I don't want to hear the Heat because he's not going to the Heat if they're going after Dame. They don't have anything to trade. They're already going to probably trade away their future for Dame Lillard. And if they fail to win with Dame Lillard for the next year, 2 years, it's going to set their team back for the next 10. Pat Riley is going to be retired. They're going to bring in a new GM. Maybe it's Spoelstra and he becomes the GM and they bring in a coach of his choosing. I don't know. But it's going to set Spoelstra back if he becomes a GM. It doesn't make sense. And now the Clippers have always brought these second-tier superstars in to their organization for years. And what happens to those second-tier all-stars? They become third-tier idiots that never get a chance to play, or they're hurt, or they're just completely washed up and they never go anywhere.
And also, we've seen the Clippers be behind the times when it comes to different trends we've seen across the NBA, too. The Clippers obviously succeeded with their quote-unquote Lob City identity in the regular season, but it didn't work in the playoffs when they didn't have enough three-point shooting besides J.J. Redick and Jamal Crawford if he was healthy, but a lot of the times that was towards the end of his career, too. Now you're seeing a trend where the Clippers have done it past this big three identity, too, where they have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. They tried to get it because they finally got it after they won the battles from the Lakers. When everyone thought Kawhi Leonard was going to the Lakers, Paul George was going to the Lakers. They won the battle to get both of those guys, and now they feel like they have to win in that type of identity again, which we've seen fail with the Brooklyn Nets already, and we've seen fail in other non-LeBron James-led locations. And now they're kind of stuck trying to have to do this as a saving grace for both Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, who are both on these massive contracts on the last year of them. And Ty Lue, who's not a great coach as it is in the NBA as it is, also on the last year of his contract, but that's who everyone wants to play for. Also, the flopping rule in the NBA, which James Harden, we know, loves to do. So that's going to diminish his value so much, even at $35.6 million a year. And that's why I think a team like the Rockets, who he does wants to go to, sees the future and say, maybe this player isn't going to succeed in new rule NBA.
Why would the Rockets want an old player, 33 years old, who, yes, he helped the Rockets grow in the mid-2000s, and he was the face of the organization. He really self-destructed that organization. When he wanted Russell Westbrook there, he pleaded with the organization to bring him in. He was a bust. The team was a complete bust. As a matter of fact, he never won there with the Rockets. They were a complete failure. 1 year with Chris Paul, and they could have knocked off Golden State. They could have, but then Chris Paul got hurt, as always, and now he's playing for Golden State. So figure that one out. How long is it going to take for Chris Paul to get hurt next year, where it's a complete turmoil over there in Golden State? So there's nothing that sells me right now that James Harden going to the Clippers is going to benefit the Clippers. As a matter of fact, they're trying to move Paul George. There were stories coming out that the Knicks are interested in him. Detroit has been interested in him. There are other teams that have reached out to the Clippers about Paul George. Why would any team want Paul George? He's 33 years old. The guy can't stay healthy. Last year, what did he play? 58 games? I don't even think he played in the playoffs. Paul George has done absolutely nothing for what he is getting paid. And by the way, Kawhi Leonard, who did finally figure things out in the second half of the season, he couldn't stay healthy all season long, and including the end of the season when he got hurt. They're imploding right now.